Hey everyone, my name is Tony Cooper, and I am the worship pastor at Temple Free Will Baptist Church in Winterville, North Carolina. Thank you for joining us in this 4-part series entitled Identity, Created to Worship. In our last session, we talked about who we are as individual Christians. We are new creations, we are servants of God, and we are apostles carrying the message of the King. In this session, I want to focus on who we are as worship leaders. We are people who cultivate an atmosphere of worship each and every Sunday. We are created to lead worship. Now, there are a lot of stigmas about the responsibilities and the obligations of a worship leader. Our congregation might come in and say, I want you to inspire and I want you to encourage me to get through the week. Our pastors might come in and say, I need you to set a tone and I need you to set a certain mood before the preaching starts. Still others, they may want to come in and just be entertained. And some people may come in and they just want a certain look of what worship looks like. But these should not be the driving force or the driving factors when we sit down and we plan and organize a worship service. Psalm 51 gives us insight about who we should be as worship leaders, especially when we sit down and we craft an order of service. Psalm 51, beginning in verse 15, he says, O Lord, open my lips, and my mouth will declare your praise. For you will not delight in sacrifice, or I would give it. You will not be pleased with a burnt offering. The sacrifices of God are a broken spirit, a broken and contrite heart. O God, you will not despise. I don't know if you caught it in verse 16, but he says, you will not delight in a sacrifice, or I would give it. You will not be pleased with a burnt offering. It's not about what we put in to the worship service. There's all kinds of things we could put in. There's lights, there's certain songs, there's transitions, there's modulations, there's special music, there's choir, there's all kinds of things that we can put in. But God is not focused on those things, specifically the elements that we're putting in. What God is concerned with are the two things that follow. These are the two personas that we should have as worship leaders when we sit down and we start to craft an order of worship. These are the driving forces behind what we do. The first one he says is a broken spirit. Now, there's a big misconception about this word. He's not talking about somebody who is hurt or downtrodden. We don't come into worship sad and defeated. So, my daughter loves to ride horses. She also shows livestock. In fact, we just picked up a new lamb this past weekend, and she is right now training it and getting it ready for the show coming up in about a month. It always starts out the same. You have to halter break a new livestock, and in this case, our lamb. We have to put that halter on, and they do not like it. They start thrashing their head, and they start kicking, and they start bleeding, and they start, all those things. Same thing with a horse. Horses are not born ready for people to ride them. What do we have to do? They have to be broken. Now, that looks different for all creatures. All different horses get broken differently. Some you can put those reins on, put that bit in, and it works. Some of them, it takes a little bit more. But the idea of being broken is not somebody who is downtrodden or sorrowful or just fearful. It's about somebody who is ready to let another person lead. When we put that bit in the horse's mouth, my daughter just gives an ever slight tug, and that horse will go right. She'll pull back on both reins, and that horse will stop. The same is true with God. God is not interested in what we put in. He's interested, are we willing and are we going to let Him lead in our worship design? Now, I know that we have all had people come up to us and say, hey, I would really love for this group to sing a special music. I would really love for somebody to lead this song, or we would sing this song. Still, we have others that come up and say, hey, can we do this with our worship? Hey, can we do this with our worship? And a lot of times we say, hey, no, it's okay. We're not going to go that direction. But let me ask you this. What if God asks you to do that? And it's not in our wheelhouse. Are we going to let him lead? Are we broken? Are we going to let him lead in our worship design? The second thing that he lists here is a contrite heart. Now, if you're like me, I have to look up words all the time. My vocabulary is not big, okay? So I had to look these things up. A contrite heart just simply means sorrowful or remorseful. Now, how does that play in the context of worship leading? Simply means this: nothing we can do will be perfect or will ever be pleasing in God's eyes. Hang on. But God has given somebody, Christ, who will make those things perfect in our life. Now, whether we use lights, whether who our team consists of, the instrumentation that we use, it doesn't matter. We can try to make things as perfect as we want. But guess what? It's never going to be perfect in God's eyes. But he has given us Christ, who will take what we offer and make it perfect in his sight. It's about understanding who we are, offering what we have to a most holy God. Let me encourage you to let God lead in the design and implementation of your worship services. Also, understand that we will not hit the mark that we sometimes strive for, but Christ will make our worship perfect. He will take what we have that is imperfect, and he will make it perfect on our behalf. Keep striving, keep doing what you do, let God lead, and let Christ make it perfect.